So, it's starting. So, we're doing an interview here with Brad Hylton, author. Here is his thing he has set up here. So, what made you want to be an author? How long has this been an idea for you?
I've wanted to be an author since I was a little kid.
What was your favorite author as a kid?
When I was about 12, I read Stephen King's Insomnia.
I haven't read that. I've never heard that one.
The way that one ends, I won't spoil it.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
But it made me cry like a baby. And this was me at 12 years old. And, obviously I'd seen sad movies, sad TV shows. I never realized that a book could do that.
Yeah.
And after I got back to normal and calmed down and had time to process the book and think about it, I kind of decided, I want to do that when I grow up. And it's just always been a dream. It took me a little longer than I thought it would.
How long did it take you?
I started writing The Terror of Black Valley in 2006. And I didn't finish it until 2020. Now, I do have a sequel planned. Mm-hmm. It will not take me 15 years to write the sequel. It'll probably take a couple, though. So the next book I plan to put out is not going to be a novel. I'm going to put out an anthology of my short stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm shooting for spring of next year for that.
We'll have to be around for that one. So
Absolutely.
Tell me about your premiere book here. What was the inspiration for it?
Okay. It's kind of got two different inspirations. The first one is a lot of the surface stuff with what the teenagers in the book are doing and some of the things they like to go do and just their personalities. That was me and my friends in the early 2000s.
Kind of like how South Park is about those guys' childhoods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as far as the monster in the story goes, it's kind of like I wanted to take the generic idea of the closet boogeyman monster that all kids are afraid of.
Yeah.
And give it an epic backstory.
Okay.
I won't go into the epic backstory because that'll spoil some stuff, but
I mean, I can only imagine a creature from West Virginia what it'd be like. I don't even go in the woods at night because of how...
I tell you, it's a mystical place where we're from, and it's very spooky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like how... how in Scotland there are all these whispers of crazy creatures near the Scottish mountains? It's because back when the world was mixed together, the West Virginia mountain range is the same mountain range as the one in Scotland.
Oh,
which
that's
is
true.
Yeah,
true.
which is yeah. I'm really excited to read it. Tell me about the cover. You told a story about the cover and how it was made.
Yeah. So I met this artist on a website called Fiverr.
Okay.
I guess back in February was when we initially met. She did the cover art for my novelette that's on Amazon called Screenshots Are Forever. Mm-hmm. And I was extremely impressed with her artwork for that. So when it came time for artwork for the novel, I didn't even ask anybody else. I just went straight back to her and told her what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And she did a pretty good job with it. I told her I wanted a pale face with completely blank eyes at the top, looking down on a quaint Appalachian town nestled in the hills, but I wanted a nightmare twisted version of the town where you can look and say, oh, there's no roads, there's no way out, there's only a way in, and once you're in, oh no, where do you go?
Yeah.
And I think that she did a very good job of capturing what I was looking for.
Yeah, because once I noticed there was no road, I'm like, damn, that does look pretty desolate, because that's a really good cover. Did a great job. What's your favorite author?
My favorite author is probably, without question, Stephen King. That's probably where I draw most of my inspiration. I also like Anne Rice, George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
I like Tolkien, even though I like to read fantasy, even though I don't really write it. Let's see, who else? Poppy Z. Bride is a good one. There's so many good ones. I also have to give a shout out to my brother Christopher Dowell. He writes some horror and some horror comedy. It's pretty good stuff. Okay. His first novel is called The Adventures of Badass Mike, and it puts you in mind of Evil Dead meets Duke Nukem is the best way I know to describe that.
That's awesome. I'll have to check that out too. Add that to my reading list. I'm really enjoying learning about all this.
Oh, thank you.
It's also cool that you're like a small time artist, but becoming this famous on be on local news.
Right?
That must be.
It's taken off kind of a lot quicker than I thought it would. I'm really thankful.
Well, also we all in like post-COVID time, so everyone's like,
yeah, we're all looking for some new entertainment.
Yeah. And you can say this book is distinctly Appalachian too, due to your upbringing and stuff.
Absolutely. It drips Appalachia. It drips Appalachia. I tend to consider most things I write in a genre I call Appalachian Gothic.
Okay.
It's a lot like
I've heard of that.
Old Vincent Price movies. You know, always there's always a ghost. There's always a graveyard or an old rundown mansion.
Yeah.
Well, think of that same sort of backdrop, but instead put it in West Virginia or Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina. Now we have an old rundown plantation house. Still have old rundown cemeteries. They just look a little different on this side of the world. You know.
A lot of real life inspiration to draw from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And how far did it take you to get down here?
From where I live, I think it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes, something like that.
You really are. You said you was. So, you said you're also going to try to do some conventions here soon?
Oh, yeah. My very first appearance was at a convention in Knoxville called FrankenCon.
Okay.
I'm already scheduled to appear there again next year. In October, I'm going to be showing up at the Tazewell County Comic-Con. I think that's on the 27th, but right off the top of my head. It's the last Saturday in October. The weekend before that, on the 19th, I'm going to be at an event in Lebanon, Virginia called Tales from the Front Porch. I'm going to be set up selling my books, but I'm also going to be appearing on stage telling some stories. And I'm even trying, it's not finalized right now, but I think I'm going to try to show up at a haunted trail event in St. Albans the second weekend in October. But I haven't finalized that one yet, so we'll see.
All plans in the making. And I know you got to tell this story like a third time, but tell us about the Freddy Snake.
That's fine. So I mentioned FrankenCon. This year at FrankenCon, Ken Sagos, who played Kincaid in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, was there. I met him and we chatted for a while, and I told him about my book, so he came over and checked it out. And in the course of checking it out, he autographed a couple for me, and he wrote that it was the best. And he didn't do that for anybody else at the convention, and he told me, he said, this will help you sell some copies. And sure enough, it did. So now I always use those 2 copies that he signed as my display copies on my table. And I always put my Freddy Snake with him so that I can kind of tell the story of who he is, and it makes more sense. Oh, why is there a Freddy Snake?
That's awesome. What's your favorite movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise?
Definitely Part 3. Definitely
Dream Warriors. Nothing compares to Dream Warriors.
I tell you, it's not just one of the best in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchises. Like, that's one of my favorite horror movies. It's really good. It's really solid and still holds up.
What other ones would you say is your favorite?
Oh, there's so many good ones. Newer ones, The Autopsy of Jane Doe is really good.
That one was weird. Yeah.
The Taking of Deborah Logan is chilling.
Yeah.
Especially if you've ever had an elderly family member that you're taking care of with dementia or something like that. It is a chilling watch.
It's much better than The Visit. Did it much better.
I don't know if you would consider this horror or thriller, but Red State is a good movie.
I've never heard of Red State.
It's a Kevin Smith film, and it's about a religious cult. So it's pretty good. I will watch anything that is horror, to be honest. Just anything. I'm not picky when it comes to horror.
Any other, like, you probably read all of Stephen King stuff. Is there any other horror author that you would like recommend besides you, obviously?
Let's see. I would definitely recommend picking up some of Anne Rice's older work, especially since she's no longer with us. And Bentley Little is a good one. He writes a lot of really good horror. If you're looking for older horror, Stephen King's inspiration, which if you've ever watched Twilight Zone or any older horror shows like that, is a guy named Richard Matheson. He's the guy that wrote, the name is escaping me. It's that Will Smith movie. It's like kind of like a zombie movie. kind of like a vampire movie.
I'm drawing a blank on it.
So it's a newer movie, but he wrote that originally. He wrote the novel that's based on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like he wrote the episode Twilight Zone. The famous William Shatner episode. There's something on the wing. He wrote that.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. Understood.
I think I got what I needed.
Awesome.